My fiancée invited her ex to dinner at our house and said, he's still a part of my life. So I let her host it alone, moved out that night, and canceled our wedding behind her back. Months later, her ex's fiancé exposed them both, and karma finished what I started. I'm 34. For 3 years, I lived with Emily in a small house outside Denver. We had plans that felt steady, a wedding date, a honeymoon list, and a joint account where we were saving. It felt like a future we both wanted. Then one evening, she mentioned she had invited someone to dinner that Saturday. I assumed a coworker or friend. When she said it was Daniel, a part of me went quiet. Daniel was the person she had once told me she couldn't move past. She said his name without drama, as if it were ordinary news. She said he was in town and she wanted to catch up. She said I could meet him. Her voice stayed calm, like she expected me to accept it. She added that he had been an important part of her life, and she didn't want to erase that. Hearing that, the house felt different. A past I hadn't been part of stood at our table. I kept my composure. I told her that if he came, I wouldn't attend. She didn't argue. She said that was my choice. No pleading. Her quiet certainty landed harder than any fight would have. The week went on with a strange normality. We bought a bottle of wine and picked music for the evening. I helped pick the tablecloth and set the place settings. I showed up to ordinary moments while making private choices. I backed up shared files and copied important documents to a drive I kept. I moved my savings out of the joint account into one just in my name. I called the venue we'd reserved and canceled the deposit I had paid. On Saturday, the house smelled like garlic and fresh bread. She dressed so carefully that the night felt intentional. At 7, she texted that dinner was ready. I replied I wouldn't be there and wished him well. Then I turned my phone off and left. Later that night, I drove past and watched through the window. They sat close at the table, leaning toward each other the way people do when they are comfortable. Their laughter filled the room. It was the same kind of laugh I had known, but now it belonged to someone else. I felt no urge to confront them. Instead, a steady relief arrived. Staying away felt like taking back something that had been slipping. The next morning, her calls came and went without answer. Texts piled up. I waited until I felt certain. Then I sent one message. The wedding was off. No long explanations. No debate. It had already been decided. In the days that followed, our world adjusted. Families asked questions. Refunds were sorted. I packed a few essential boxes and moved out quietly. She had to explain why the engagement ended days after her ex's visit. I wasn't cruel. I was deliberate. I protected what I could. Unpacking in a smaller place, clarity settled in. The life we'd been building had been steady and honest, but I'd let a hinge go unchecked. That night had shown me where respect ended for her and began for me. This is where part 1 closes. I let the dinner happen without me, but I had already set other things in motion. She did not know I had a plan of my own, and it was moving forward. I wasn't driven by a need to punish. I wanted to stop repeating the same compromises. What came next would be measured and final, a quiet ending that opened room for a deliberate, fresh start for me. For the next few days, I acted as if nothing had changed. I made breakfast, laughed at her small talk, and pretended to care about the menu for Saturday night. She probably thought my silence meant I had accepted it, but I had already decided how this story would end. While she talked about the dinner, I was busy preparing my quiet exit. I transferred half of our savings into my own account. Every shared subscription, file, and bill, I separated it. It felt strange, almost peaceful, doing these things without anger. I just didn't see the point of fighting for something that had already lost its balance. On Thursday, I called the wedding venue and canceled the booking. I didn't give a reason. I just said plans had changed. The woman on the phone offered sympathy. I didn't need it. When Saturday came, the air in the house felt heavy. She'd cleaned the place spotless, candles on the table, plates set perfectly, wine chilling on the counter. She even wore the blue dress I once told her she looked beautiful in. For a moment, I almost forgot why I was leaving. Then she smiled and said, I hope tonight goes smoothly. I told her it would. At 7 sharp, she texted me. Dinner's ready. Are you coming? I typed back, no, but I hope he enjoys it. Then I switched my phone off. I drove for a while with no destination, just the sound of the road and my thoughts. Around 8, I circled back near the house. Her car was still there. Another one, unfamiliar, was parked outside. Through the window, I saw them, her and Daniel, sitting across from each other, laughing. The kind of laughter that once filled that space when we still shared something real. But I didn't feel anger. I felt done. Completely, quietly done. The next morning, her messages started. Where were you? You're being childish. And overreacting. I didn't reply until the afternoon. One short text. I'm done being tested. The wedding's off. That was it. No phone calls, no explanations. She tried to call me again, but I didn't pick up. I was already driving away from the house for good, a few boxes in my trunk and nothing left to explain. By the end of the week, the consequences started unfolding. The venue confirmed the cancellation. The joint account was half empty, my half gone. Our families got the news that the engagement was over. I'd already spoken to my parents and sent a short note to hers. I wasn't trying to destroy her life. I was just stepping out of the one where I wasn't respected. A week later, I heard through a friend that Emily was telling people I'd left out of nowhere. But those who knew the full story didn't blame me. She had brought someone from her past into our home and lost her future because of it. I thought that was where it ended. But karma doesn't move on command. A month later, I found out Daniel, her old friend, her emotional connection, was actually engaged. His fiancée discovered that dinner through a photo Emily posted online. A smiling picture captioned, "Catching up with an old friend. Some connections never fade." That post started a chain reaction. Daniel's fiancée saw it, confronted him, and everything blew apart. Engagement rings disappeared from social media. Comments got deleted. And suddenly, Emily's post was gone too. I didn't reach out. I didn't need to. Watching it all unfold from a distance was enough. She had made her choice that night, and now she was learning what choices really cost. That was when I understood something. Real revenge doesn't need fire or fury. Sometimes, all it takes is walking away and letting life handle the rest. That dinner had been her test. My silence was the answer. And the fallout? It was just beginning. After I ended things with Emily, the silence in my new apartment felt heavier than I expected. It wasn't sadness, not exactly. More like the quiet after a long argument you never wanted to have. The house we shared no longer existed for me. It was just a place where I once ignored too many signs that she didn't see me the way I saw her. For a while, she kept trying to reach me. Her texts came almost daily at first. "You could have at least talked to me. I didn't mean anything by inviting him. You ruined everything over dinner." Each one sounded less like remorse and more like an attempt to pull me back into the same old cycle, where she hurt me, and I was supposed to make peace for both of us. I didn't answer a single message. That silence wasn't revenge, it was self-respect. I'd learned that responding only gave her power. Sometimes, silence makes people face themselves more than any argument ever could. A few weeks later, a friend called me with news. "Hey, did you see Emily's post?" I hadn't. But apparently, she had uploaded a photo from that dinner. Her and Daniel at the table, smiling like nothing was wrong. The caption read, "Catching up with an old friend. Some connections never fade." It spread fast. The internet has a funny way of showing you who people really are when they think they're being clever. The twist came the next morning, when Daniel's fiancée, a woman named Sophie, commented under the photo. "So this is what running errands looks like." Within hours, the post vanished. Then Daniel's engagement photos disappeared too. Word spread that Sophie had found messages, pictures, and proof that Daniel wasn't as innocent as he pretended to be. I didn't feel joy, just a strange kind of closure. It was like watching karma arrive exactly on time. A few days later, I saw Emily's name pop up on my phone again. I ignored the first two calls, but when she tried a third time, curiosity got the better of me. I picked up. Her voice sounded small, the kind of small that comes when someone's pride has finally cracked. "Can we talk?" she said. I didn't answer right away. She went on, her words slow and heavy. "Daniel's fiancée called me. She told me everything. He's been lying to both of us. My parents are furious about the canceled wedding, the money, everything. I feel like my whole life just fell apart." I didn't interrupt. She said, "I never cheated on you. I just wanted closure." That word, closure, hung in the air like an excuse that had lost its meaning. I didn't argue, but part of me wanted to laugh at the irony. Closure wasn't found at a dinner table with your ex. It was what you gave yourself when you decided to stop reopening old doors. Her breathing grew uneven. I messed everything up, didn't I? For the first time, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But the truth was, she hadn't just messed up a moment. She destroyed the trust we'd built. That call ended without drama. She asked if we could meet, just to talk, to clear the air. I told her I'd think about it. When I hung up, I sat there for a while, staring out the window. The city lights flickered like tiny reminders that life was still moving forward. I realized something important. She wanted me to give her peace, but peace was something she'd have to earn on her own. Still, part of me wanted to see what she'd say face to face. Maybe not for her, but for myself, to make sure that the person who walked away from her was truly done. And that's how the next part began. The meeting where everything finally came to light. We met at a small cafe downtown, the kind of place where everything felt too calm for the weight that sat between us. I arrived a few minutes early, just to make sure I wouldn't walk in and see her laughing at another table again. When she came through the door, she looked different, not glamorous like the night of the dinner, just tired. She sat down across from me and tried to smile. It didn't reach her eyes. "Thanks for coming," she said quietly. I nodded. "You said you wanted to talk." She started with small talk, how she'd been, how work was, how her family still didn't understand what happened. It was all noise. I waited. Eventually, her voice softened. I didn't realize how much I disrespected you, she said. You were the only person who ever made me feel safe. I just thought I could keep my past and my future in the same room. I didn't say anything. I wanted her to sit in her own words for once. She looked at me, searching for a reaction. I didn't cheat, she said again. I just wanted closure. To make peace with him before marrying you. I let out a small breath. Closure isn't something you serve over wine and pasta, I said. It's what you give yourself when you stop looking back. She blinked fast, like she was holding back tears. I didn't mean to hurt you. I know, I said. But you still did. For a few minutes, neither of us spoke. The sound of coffee cups clinking and quiet conversations around us filled the space. She reached across the table, her hand open, like muscle memory. But I didn't take it. Then she whispered, I miss you. I looked at her, really looked, and saw the truth in that sentence. She didn't miss me. She missed the version of herself I made possible. The one who was loved, trusted, and forgiven too easily. I don't miss the version of me who tolerated being disrespected, I said calmly. That was the moment it hit her. Not anger, not shouting, just the plain finality in my voice. Her lips parted, but she didn't know what to say. For the first time, she seemed to understand that she couldn't talk her way out of this. She wiped at her eyes and whispered, You don't have to be cruel. I'm not, I said. I'm being honest. We sat in silence a little longer before I stood up. There wasn't anything left to fix. As I picked up my coat, I said one last thing, the only thing that felt right. You wanted both worlds, Emily. Now you get neither. She looked down, and I walked away. Outside, the air felt cleaner. The noise of the city filled the space her voice used to take up. For the first time in months, I felt light. Not because I'd hurt her, but because I had finally stopped letting her confusion define my peace. That meeting wasn't about revenge. It was about closure, mine, not hers. She had lost everything she tried to balance, and I had regained something she couldn't give me anymore, self-respect. When I got home, I deleted her number. Not out of anger, out of acceptance. I didn't need reminders or what-ifs. The story was finished. At least, I thought it was. But a few months later, I got a message from someone I didn't expect, Sophie, Daniel's ex-fiancée. Her message began, Hey, I think we have a mutual experience. And just like that, karma came back around, one more time. When Sophie first messaged me, I didn't know what to expect. Hey, I think we have a mutual experience, she wrote. We exchanged a few messages before deciding to meet for coffee. It wasn't awkward. If anything, it felt like meeting someone who understood a language only a few people could speak. She told me how she'd found out about Daniel's innocent dinner. A friend had shown her Emily's post before it disappeared. She said she'd felt the same confusion I did, that sense of betrayal that's more insulting than devastating. We talked for over an hour. It wasn't about bitterness. It was about perspective. Sophie said something that stuck with me. People like them don't think they're doing anything wrong. They just test how much you'll tolerate until you finally stop. She was right. And somehow, sitting there, sharing stories with someone who'd been through the same storm, made everything feel lighter. We didn't meet again after that, but we stayed in touch occasionally. Not as potential lovers, just two people who had turned their pain into understanding. In a strange, poetic way, that felt like karma's balance. Two betrayed people found peace, while the ones who caused it were left sorting through the wreckage of their choices. Months went by. Life moved on. I started traveling more, spending weekends hiking or visiting places I'd always postponed. Work felt easier when my mind wasn't constantly tied to someone else's drama. Some nights, I still thought of Emily, not with anger, but as a reminder of what ignoring your instincts can cost. Then one day, she reached out again. Just one message this time. I'm sorry. You were right about everything. I didn't reply, not because I wanted to punish her, but because I truly had nothing left to say. The conversation she wanted would have been about her guilt, not my peace. And I wasn't willing to give up my calm for her closure. A few weeks later, I heard from a mutual friend that she'd moved back in with her parents. She wasn't seeing anyone. Her social media was gone. The same woman who once posted about connections that never fade had vanished from the internet entirely. As for Daniel, he left town not long after Sophie ended things. Word was that he'd tried to reach out to Emily again, but she didn't respond. Maybe she finally realized that the connection she romanticized was just nostalgia wearing a cheap disguise. Meanwhile, I started over. I bought a small house, quiet, modest, and fully mine. No shared keys, no shared accounts, and no shared doubts. Just a place that belonged to me. On quiet evenings, I sometimes sit by the window with a glass of whiskey, watching the lights of the neighborhood fade into the distance. That's usually when I think about that dinner, the one I didn't attend. The night that looked like betrayal but ended up being my beginning. I learned something from all of it. Love means nothing without respect. And peace isn't found in proving someone wrong. It's found in walking away before they take away the parts of you that still believe and trust. Revenge doesn't always look like payback. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it's just peace. Because the best kind of revenge isn't what you do to them. It's how quietly you move on while they choke on the echoes of what they destroyed. And that's how I finally forgave her, by never letting her explain why she hurt me in the first place.